All right. We'll go ahead and get started. It is Thursday, December 13th, 2018 at 7 p.m. We'll go ahead and go in with the Alburnett City Council for this evening. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. I'm going to go ahead and make one slight change to the agenda. I'm going to move the Linn County Sheriff's Office, the deputy, to the top of the agenda so he can go ahead and get back on the road and do his job. Go ahead, sir.
Thanks, sir. Deputy Tyndall, Linn County Sheriff's Office, City of Alburnett, required hours, 43 hours through October, 104.6. 33 calls for service, and nothing that looks to me like it's a problem, but let me know.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Because it's probably going to come up later. You may or may not know the answer. If you don't, that'll be fine. But according to this, you had a total of 33 calls for service. If I did my math right, 10 of these are school resource, and about 25 of them look to be self-initiated. Now, of those 10, are those 8-hour days?
For the school resource
Yeah.
officer, she does work an 8-hour day. She's not 8 hours here.
Okay, well, I'm going to have
sure.
a conversation later with the council during an item that's on the agenda, which is the renewal of the contract. Ultimately, it's at the pleasure of the council to renew the contract as presented. But I'm going to, like I say, at least bring up the hours and some of the things. And one of them is how the hours are calculated against what we pay for against how many are actually here. So I'm just trying to understand how many hours presented and how they come across.
Okay. So how do we put in our hours? So
Yes,
I mean,
that might help.
for me personally, pretty much as soon as I roll into town, I got here at like 6:30.
Right.
So 6:30, I give a cross street or whatever it is, and then until I'm pretty much out of town.
Okay.
So if I'm just driving around the neighborhood or sitting in highly visible spots or something like that, that's kind of how we do it, as far as I know, our billable hours. But I mean, that's how I keep track of my town time.
So you could have in-view or patrol time that isn't reflected on. This looks like maybe it's all done off the MDC. So you could have separate time
Sure.
that you're in here that isn't reflected on here.
Right.
Okay.
So if for the first 30 minutes, I mean, I sat up to the little school and kind of drove around blocks, and then I came here, soon afterwards. So, 6:30 got into town, whatever street I were down, and then now I'm here, and then I'll probably be in town for at least another 30 minutes, an hour, driving around, and then seeing what comes up. And
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt we see plenty of Linn County deputies, in Alburnett. So we do appreciate that, and you're very responsive to our requests. I just want to.
I think
When we have that conversation, I want to make sure that I can accurately say that what we see reflected here is not all the hours that Linn County is putting in Alburnett.
Right. I mean, like if you're 43 is what we're required to do, we put in 104. That, like, if something happens somewhere, you do get. I mean, the more that's per one deputy. So if you get 3 of us up here, usually it's if we spend an hour at a domestic for something or a medical situation, you're going to get 3 people putting in an hour, kind of deal. I don't know if they differentiate that. You would have to talk to Major Colston about that.
Sure.
But that's how I do it. I'm sure everybody's somewhat similar on hours. So.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions on the report from council? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay. This is the portion where we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I asked if you could bring that up. With the new seating that we're going to be doing, not only this but in the future, placed here eventually, once we get everything done, will be the not only the U.S. flag, we'll have an Iowa flag as well. So I think something that we may end up doing, I'm going to try tonight, is for the members out here that choose to do the pledge with us, and then for the council and myself, I think we may end up putting a flag on the screen for us. Much easier for us up here, and then the folks out here also have the flag in front. So we'll go ahead and do the pledge at this time. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. go ahead and establish a roll call for the quorum. If you would take care of that, clerk, please.
Counselor Menson?
Present.
Counselor Saracen? Here. Counselor Chung?
Present.
Counselor Henderson?
Would you let the record reflect that we do have a quorum to conduct business for this evening? All right, I'd ask for approval of the, do we have any changes with this right now? No, I'll get to consent, we'll get to it, but then, okay. All right, then I would ask for approval of the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Moved by Saracen,
Second.
second by Menson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the motion carries. Thank you. The sheriff's report has been conducted. For the mayor's report, I do have a couple items that I would like to go over this evening. I will be quick. First of all, this is the December meeting, and because of that, I want to do just a very brief year in review. I want to thank everybody, for the council members and city staff, fire chief, for your service throughout the year. I think it's been a very good year. We've accomplished a lot. This was a year where we hired a new clerk. We fulfilled the commitment of getting out the RFP for a new fire station, and there was a lot of moving parts to that. That went well. We have filled the new council seat and with Councilman Hendrickson, and that went very well. I think that we also, with updating, many parts of the city need to be updated, which is future goals, which I'll talk about in a second, but getting the job descriptions updated, getting the pay grades updated, many accomplishments that we've seen done here, not only the many hours that council people have put in. And by that, you look at our city hall here, what we've done. We're looking at multi-year lease that with improvements here. We're looking at doing a open house in January now to let the public see what we've accomplished. It's a really nice facility. I just can't say enough good things about the council folks that also came in, volunteered to paint, to put this together, and it's just been a great group to work with. And the same with the folks that helped with the hiring process and the many, many hours that they put in as volunteers. So anyway, thank you again for that. Like I say, I think we've done a lot. The newsletter, again, I'd like to get a new one out too, if I can, just to let the folks know, and for the folks that watch us on YouTube, that we would like to get a January open house to let the folks come in and see our completed city hall, which we're still in kind of a construction process for that. Also, as mayor, and with this council, we committed to getting that, like I said, the fire station RFP out. That's done. The next commitment for next year, at least for my part, and I think council as well, is to get that fire station built. And also administratively, I'd like to get the policy manual updated for the city. And then in years 3 and 4, I know we're very interested in doing some form of park or some type of park and recreation project for the city. So we also have talked, at least in year 3, maybe doing an ordinance upgrade or updates, and then doing code updates maybe in year 4, which will complete my term as mayor. So I think we'll get all those goals accomplished. And then in January, we'll do official reviews and things like that, which we'll talk about later in the process, as well as budget. So the last thing I'd have to say is for full-time employees, not Danielle, she's still probationary, but guys, review is done. I did not have an opportunity to go over it with him yet. It's due December 1. It is complete. We've attempted to meet a couple different times, but because of the projects that were going on either within the city or within City Hall, it's not signed yet. So I will get that done within this calendar month and get that submitted for everybody. And that completes my report. So, Councilman Nixon.
Nothing this month.
You spoke of a newsletter. I think we have the capability with the new website to start accumulating email addresses, so
Good.
I don't know if that's something with the water bills, if we can put something down at the bottom to have them sign up to receive our newsletters and direct them to the website for that. And then I've also, once Danielle is back full-time, I'm going to start cross-training her on website maintenance as well.
Good. And I'm very pleased with the website. I know I've mentioned that in other forums and in different forms. I didn't mention it tonight in my notes, I should have. That's quite an accomplishment as well. I like it a lot, other than my head's too big. Maybe we could zoom that down a little bit. You know, in the picture, my head wasn't that big.
It's because we rounded it, that's,
Okay. All right, anything else?
that's all, thank you.
Chester is not feeling well this evening, so hopefully he has a quick recovery. Joe?
I enjoy seeing the Christmas lights. I know that was kind of a roundabout way of getting those here and trying to economize to do that. It's a nice improvement. I'm glad to see some of the potholes, particularly over in my neighborhood, that were taken care of. I thought that was going to be an all-winter issue, but that's been taken care of.
Yes, and the work out here on past the school there. Nice, very nice. Should have mentioned that as well, so, yep, good point. All right, very good. Okay, having those reports completed, we'll go on to the citizen comment area. This is, we have two types of citizen comments here in the city of Alburnett. One is for agenda items, and that, if you have agenda items that you wish to talk about, as you state your name and address clearly for the record, you have up to 5 minutes to address the mayor and council. And if you are on the agenda, of course, you can speak later if you want to, but if you have an agenda item that you recognize and want to talk about, we would go ahead and do that at this time. Anyone wish to speak about agenda items?
Barb Ham, 311 Howard Street.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just interested to know what the 11/28 council meeting was, because I didn't know that happened. So what happened at that time, that meeting?
Is this the same as your comments under 11B? You are on the agenda
Yeah.
officially.
I am officially on the agenda, but this is not, I
This is
didn't
not
hear
that,
anything
okay.
about this until I saw the agenda for tonight.
Okay,
So I'm just interested to know what that council meeting was about.
okay. If it's the same thing, we can go ahead and address it now.
No, that's
No.
just the special meeting that we had, she just.
That special meeting on 11/28.
Oh, I
I don't
misunderstood.
understand what that one was about, so.
Special meeting. We approved,
Plan.
yeah, the plat. There was a request for a piece of property that was within the 2-mile radius to get approved for,
To subdivide it.
yeah, there was one little piece of it that was divided off that they wanted to get put all back together so they could complete a sale of the land, I believe.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other items? No? All right, the other piece is for non-agenda items. 8B, same thing, if you have any comments you'd like to make for non-agenda items, this is the time and place to do so. Again, state your name and address clearly for the record, and we'll be happy to answer, well, hear any comments concerning non-agenda items. Okay, hearing none, then we'll go ahead and move on to item 9. Written reports, we'll start with the fire department. Chief Graham, you have one. I have read your report, by the way. Is there anything else you'd like to?
Computer, did you guys ever pick one up, or?
Yes, so we had, Black Friday, everything got sold out even the week before. So I have sent a link to Guy. We have to pay off the credit card with the approvals tonight, and we'll get it ordered tomorrow.
It's.
Yep.
That's all I got.
All right, very good. Public Works, I've also had an opportunity to look at yours. Any further comments you'd like to make in reference to your report?
I left off that we do have all the street signs, and as weather allows, we'll get the street signs up. Except there's gonna be some that require digging a new post in, which we'll probably have to wait till spring now. But the rest of them, when it's not freezing cold and blowing, we can. So, other than that, no, I don't think there's anything else.
Any questions on either reports from council?
Did that guy back out in that skid loader?
Yeah. Yeah, he made one more stab at it right before that last snow we had and didn't come close to what we talked about per price, so, yeah, that was it. I intend to, Councilor Setterson has said it'd probably be all right to set it uptown here in front of the shop with a for sale sign, which I will do, and I guess I don't mind. I'll advertise it via Facebook Marketplace. Seems like that's getting more traffic these days than Craigslist. So I don't mind. I'll put it on my Facebook account and get it out there and see if that helps. Craigslist has not been turning up much at all. So, and that reminded me too, Housby called, the new skid loader will be here within days. So they've got to notice that it's being shipped. So.
So a question about that, I saw you running the rental.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna take a little getting used to, pushing snow because it tends to, it's not like a wheeled machine where if you're trying to turn and the high spot is in the center of the tracks, it will turn fast. So you gotta make sure you're careful when you're near things, more so than with the wheeled loader. That was the only thing I really noticed, but the visibility is fantastic. The speed is, we were worried about it being a lot slower than the wheeled machine. Not a problem, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And that one snow we pushed, it had plenty of traction, so, yeah.
I do want to recognize, so I stopped in the other day and didn't notice on the way in, but I noticed on the way out that the sidewalk out front is now handicap accessible, so I'm glad we got that done. I talked to Guy and he has something in the report about whether we need to add some kind of doorbell, whether it be a Bluetooth or I'm sure they have, you know, battery operated type things that we could rig up because the door itself is not.
Has that been an issue at all up to this point?
No, we've had one gentleman who is in a wheelchair who has commented, he comes to the back door of the post office to get his mail, they accommodate him that way. He comes back there and knocks and he mentioned, well, it should have a doorbell for me. And then that way, you know, he doesn't have to knock on the door, and so that's what got me thinking about, that would be a good way to solve not having an automatic opening door like you see on some businesses. If someone is in here, they can ring the bell, we can open the door and allow them to come in. So, and the door is more than wide enough. It's past ADA specs as far as width goes, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Matter of calling the assistant, so I'd say it's something worth looking into.
And I think it'll be minimal cost.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be. So.
Very good. Any other comment on those two reports?
I don't have a report, but I do want to mention something if that's okay.
Oh, I was gonna say, before we do the clerk one, I was gonna say welcome back.
Oh,
We missed you.
oh, thank you.
All right, so city clerk.
We have been talking to the post office about our utility billing postcards. Previously, we've been separating out the post office box cards from the regular mail postcards, and they've been keeping the P.O. box ones here instead of sending them to Cedar Rapids because they run them in Cedar Rapids through their machine and a bunch of them get torn up. They just let us know the other day that they're no longer going to do that. They're going to require that they send all of them to Cedar Rapids instead of holding the P.O. box ones here and just putting them right into the boxes, even though we pay the postage for it. So we were talking about what that's gonna look like if there's a bunch of them that continue to get torn up if they do that. I think you had mentioned that another town is going to envelopes, but the cost of postage is also increasing in January from 50 to 55 cents for an envelope. So just something to be thinking about how we wanna possibly facilitate if we wanna maybe switch to paper bills or
Okay.
to potentially mail them out at a higher cost, or if we wanna see what happens with the postcards and see how many get torn up, but it could potentially be an issue.
It's just a higher percentage that are gonna go through that machine, so that means you're gonna, in theory, you're gonna have more shredded bills and, I don't know. We can print on plain paper, but even bulk rate envelope type mail is gonna be more expensive than bulk rate postcard. So.
And I don't know if our bulk rate will go up with the postage increase in January. We'll have to find out about that. Right now, it's, I think, 30%.
So that's something we just gotta wait for complaints to find out if it's gonna be an issue?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes people let us know if they don't get it. Sometimes it's a delinquent notice and then they say, oh, I never got my bill, so.
Is there a higher quality postcard we could look at?
I don't know, one day we got a bag of pieces, and it was from 3 different towns, lots of towns around here, because that's the Summit utility billing. I mean, we could talk with Story Kenworthy, I guess, where we get our utility bills printed and see if there is something, I don't know.
And I can check with Summit Data Tech and see if other cities have run into this and how
If we
they've
choose to
addressed
do
it.
it in a different format, is it gonna be compatible with our system?
Well, that's just it, our software would have to be retooled to put that on, because the postcards come pre-printed with the different categories, so to go on plain paper, we would have to retool the software somehow. I don't know how hard it would be or what the cost would be.
Okay.
Because the post office tell you anything? Is it a heavier card stock, or is it the size of the card? Does anybody know?
It's so hard to get an answer. You know, our postmaster is in Central City, and
Okay.
I mean, we can dig in a little deeper and see if there is some guidance there. Maybe we can get a number of someone in Cedar Rapids where the machinery is.
I'll call my sister.
Well, I think at this point, one or both of you is gonna find a solution to this and then back to council if it's gonna be a cost, is that it?
Yeah,
Okay.
just letting you know that
Yeah,
it's a
okay.
potential issue to
We'll know it's coming. Any other comments, Dan?
Nope.
All right, then we'll move on to number 10, which is approval of the consent agenda. It's the meeting minutes, list of claims on the financial treasurer reports. If you have any treasurer reports, Danielle, are there any changes or any additional bills to add to the list of claims?
I added the WEX statement, which is the fuel cards, the 2 Visa statements. I didn't have a chance to get those entered, so they're in there as well. And then we just got the Alliant bill today, so that is also in there. And then the Microsoft invoice for our subscription is in there as well.
Okay.
Also, on the financials, I didn't have a chance yet to enter our accounts receivable, so that's not being reflected for November. The property tax, the local option sales tax, and the road use tax, we did get those in, I just haven't had a chance to enter them into the system.
I have those additional bills here. Would you read those dollar amounts for the record, please?
Sure. We had interest from the bank of $1,697.
Just the additional bills. The
Oh.
dollar amounts of the additional
Oh,
bills.
I'm sorry. The WEX bill, $345.85.
Yeah.
The Visa statement for Guy, $4,799.12.
But the itemized one is there.
Correct.
Yes, go ahead.
The Visa statement for myself, $763.49.
Mm-hmm.
And the Microsoft invoice, $297.
Very good. All right, any questions on the consent
You
agenda?
have Alliant.
One more Alliant.
Oh, sorry. I thought there was.
Alliant, $2,515.09.
Any questions for the consent agenda, anyone? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted, or as amended, sorry.
So moved.
Moved by Trump, second by Henderson. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries, thank you. That completes it. Oh, Barb, did you, we have multiple copies of these. Did you want my minutes? This has the minutes from that special meeting also.
Oh,
Do you want
that'd be great.
Yeah, very good. I have plenty of copies of it. You don't have to go try to get them from another source, so you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Number 11, new business. We have a home rule proclamation. I'll go ahead and read that. This was, as I understand it, a request from the home rule folks. Is that the best way to explain them?
At the Iowa League of Cities.
Yeah. And this is something other cities have done, and they just asked us to participate. So we are happy to assist them with that. We don't have anyone present that will be receiving it, but I will go ahead and read the proclamation and what they submitted. So this is the Alburnett proclamation making it the 50th anniversary of the home rule in Iowa. Alburnett has joined cities from across the state of Iowa to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Home Rule Amendment to Iowa's state constitution by passing a Home Rule proclamation. In 1968, the Home Rule Amendment was passed by citizens of Iowa and constitutionalized local control in the state. This transitioned Iowa from a Dillon's rule state, where local government powers were derived exclusively from the state legislature, to a home rule state, where local government's powers derived from the state constitution. The Iowa League of Cities will also mark the 50th anniversary of this historic constitutional amendment at events through 2018. So, the Home Rule Proclamation. Whereas, home rule is essential to effective and responsive municipal government in Iowa and provides flexibility to make decisions at the local level, where decisions are made close to the people they impact and can be tailored to fit local conditions, needs, and concerns in order to better serve taxpayers. Whereas the City of Alburnett supports home rule and the powers it provides to make local decisions that best reflect the residents of our community. Whereas the citizens of Iowa approved the adoption of the Home Rule and the Constitution of Iowa on November 5th, 1968. Whereas this is the 50th year of municipal home rules in Iowa. Whereas home rule continues to be vital to the health and prosperity of all cities in Iowa. Now, therefore, I, Clinton Charles McClintock, Mayor of Alburnett, Iowa, do hereby recognize the 50th anniversary of municipal home rule in Iowa on this 13th day of December 2018 and proudly support its continued authority. I'll make sure we get the signed copy and we get a copy back to them. All right, very good, thank you. Okay, item 11B, this is the building inspection and discussion and the motion to approve. In this particular one, this ordinance 2018-2, we're looking to do an approval for this, which includes the suspension of 2 additional readings. If you look at this, you're going to have 2 items in your packet. One is going to be the ordinance. This is a minor change. It doesn't affect any pricing or costs or anything like that. It has no impact other than just some verbiage change. There'll be an additional piece of paper with it that has the ordinance verbiage there. So if the council would, somebody make the motion to suspend according to the top one there. The verbiage is there for you. And then we'll move on to the ordinance itself, and then we'll move to pass the ordinance.
Is this for item B, or are we down on item E? Or are they connected?
We're on item B.
That's not the ordinance. B is not.
Oh, I thought it was. Oh, I've got them out of order in my packet. Sorry. I see what you're saying. That's E, sorry. Building inspection. Go ahead, that's you.
Real simply, I've been attempting to contact the city of Marion to possibly change from using Vince at Robbins to using them for our building inspections. We already use them for our electrical because Vince can't do it. And we've been getting some complaints from contractors that Vince is very slow at getting finals done and sometimes doesn't do final inspections, etc. The list goes on and on. I don't think it's going to hurt his feelings at all, but I am also having a very difficult time getting any response back from Marion on that issue and other issues, so I don't know what's going on there. So maybe there's another option to explore too. So emails and phone calls go unanswered. So
We're going to review this later, or?
yeah, I think we just need to move on and let me do some more research, try and figure some things out here, see what's going on. So,
I will also ask at work,
okay.
like, that's not very professional at all, because I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, I called and talked to the head of the building, I left a message for the building inspector, and also Alma, who answers the phone in that department, said she would tell him that I had called and then put me to his voicemail because he was in a meeting, and no response whatsoever. So.
Okay. All right, item 11C, the City Hall open house. This is an item that I mentioned earlier. I just wanted to have it officially on here. We don't have to set a date right now, but if we're going to do it separate than what the actual meeting is, then we do need to do a date. I think what we've proposed is that we do it either before or after the meeting or in conjunction or something like that with that proposed date. I think that's the preferred idea. So I guess at the pleasure of the council here, what do we want to do for the potential open house? Is it okay to do it in January? I think we're going to be ready before the council meeting, after the council meeting, or on a separate date. What are your thoughts?
I don't have a thought.
I think before the meeting would be a good time to get people in here.
I
I
think
mean,
so.
we're all here, that works. and just-
Folks wanted to stay for the meeting when they could.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so too. That way, if we have to cancel because of weather, it takes out the regular meeting as well, and then we don't have to try to do 2 different things or whatever. And if we postpone, it postpones with it, and so on and so forth.
After would be challenging, because we don't know what that agenda looks like yet, so I would agree to do it before.
Okay, so
How long would you anticipate having an open house? An hour?
I would think so. That would give the public an opportunity to show up in a longer window if they wanted to come in and do it, and then they could stay if they wanted to for the meeting or whatever. I think that that would probably work. We could do it 1 hour before the council meeting. Um, I know that, you know, I mean, that's donated time for us, but that certainly doesn't bother me. Would an hour be acceptable for you folks? So, okay, so it looks like that's gonna be the plan then. Open house 1 hour prior to meeting. All right, very good. All right, the budget workshop schedule.
We just need to plan a date to get together and talk about the budget, in January.
I would like to have Chester here for that too, but we're just gonna have to maybe wing it, or we're gonna have to coordinate it in another way. But do we have a preference in January to discuss budget?
I would interject earlier the better, because with the less than experienced crew, it might take a couple of work sessions to get through, as we're all learning a little bit here, so.
It would be nice to have that first full week of January, it'd be a good time to have a meeting.
So
The week of the 7th is what you're talking about?
Is that when our regular meeting is, the 10th?
Yes. Council is the 10th. Preference on day?
The 8th.
Tuesday, the 8th is proposed.
Yeah.
Weather pending for me, obviously.
Bethany, the 8th.
Works for me.
All right, then would you propose that date to, it's going to be it unless changed to Chester when he stops in, hopefully one of these times coming up.
Sure.
That works for you, Josh?
Yeah, we have time.
What time would you like?
7.
7 p.m. work for everybody? All right, so the proposed date and time is going to be 7 p.m. On January 8th for the budgetary workshop. Any other questions concerning the budget or that proposal?
You want me to attend that, or you want me to do it?
Yes. That would probably be a good idea because you're going to have an integral part in some of that, especially with
Yeah.
the proposed stuff. I have stuff later on we talk about with 10-year CIP, and probably wouldn't hurt, only because with the building of a new station, you're going to have install property, you're going to have stuff that affects what needs to go into that building, replacement items and things like that, so it probably wouldn't hurt. Even if you came at the beginning and we go through what those placeholders need to look like for that fire station portion of it, and then you don't have to stay for everything if you don't want to, but could you come at least?
Yeah, that's fine.
That
I
would be great.
figured, but I don't know if you have another one later or what you're doing.
We'll have more, but
Yeah.
more information off the front end of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way the budget's structured too, the fire department's one of the very first items within the budget pages and everything too, so it'll fit. So, thank you for reminding me.
And we'll try and send out a budget report, like what last year's was, ahead of time, so you can look at it,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. All right, now, since I took it out to look at it earlier, I stuck it back in the wrong order, I apologize for that. Now we can modify the ordinance for utility connection fee. Sorry about that earlier. So, this is ordinance 2018-2, ordinance amending chapter 56 of the Alburnett Municipal Code relating to the water system. Any comments on this?
So is this, we're just specifying a connection fee versus, what did it say before, a deposit or a?
It said exactly what it says now, except after connection fee, it said to guarantee payment.
Okay.
So the attorney advised that since we're not gonna treat it as a deposit, just to remove that verbiage from there. So we're just going off of the advice of the attorney to get that cleared up.
Okay, and because this says every customer, we have that built into the building permits, correct?
Yes.
That
A
fee
new,
schedule?
a new home will not be subject to this because they're paying a $500 connection fee for each utility as a new construction permit.
Can we
So-
build this into the fee schedule for building permits so that it's clear that they have paid it as part of that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, just so that they, yeah,
because this applies to everyone, so we're saying you paid it, you just paid it as part of your permit
Right,
process.
right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I had, Mayor.
Okay. So can we get the motion there to suspend the two considerations?
I move to suspend the two considerations of ordinance number 2018-2 before the final passage requirement under Iowa Code section 380.3.
All right, can I get a second? Second, also by Trump. All right, would you read the,
Counselor Menson?
Aye.
Counselor Saracen?
Aye.
Counselor Trump?
Aye.
Counselor Henderson?
Aye.
record reflect, we have the votes to pass it. And we'll go straight to the reading. So ordinance 2018-2 reads, whereas this matter has come before the council for final passage, and the council having waived the two considerations requirements under Iowa Code section 380-3 by the vote of 4 council members, 1 council member not being present this evening. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Alburnett, Iowa, that the following section be deleted and replaced with the following. Section 6.56-34 connection fee. There shall be required for every customer of the premises served a $100 connection fee. So now we can move forward to the approval. If somebody would.
I move that we pass ordinance 2018-2, amending chapter 56 of the Alburnett Municipal Code relating to the water system.
That was moved by Menson.
Second that.
Second by Saracen. Any discussion? Would you also call that?
Counselor Menson?
Aye.
Counselor Saracen? Aye. Counselor Trump?
Aye.
Counselor Henderson?
Aye.
So let the record reflect, we passed with a quorum. Any other questions on that? Very good, thank you. Satisfied? All right, very good. All right, 11F. Acumen, this is the doubly insurance benefit review.
So there's a copy of the renewal rates in your packet. It has the current rate and then it has the renewal rate. There was a very, very minimal increase. As you can see, for the employee only, it went up just a few dollars, and that's the city's expense portion. We had our person from Acumen come and to discuss this with us, and he said that this was the best rate. It didn't make sense to look at going to another plan because the rate increase was so minimal. So we're just looking for review and approval of the new renewal policy for the next year.
Council? Any questions on the new rates or review or of these changes?
Seems reasonable. You guys are happy with the coverage and the,
He showed us some other options, but they were way more expensive. Literally, we have a terrific plan here. So everything he threw at us was way more, higher deductibles and more premium.
You can see in the bottom corner, it says percent of change 1%, so I mean, it's very minimal.
We just need to renew the same policies we had
Yeah,
last year.
just continue on with it, basically, just sign it and say that we're continuing.
Any questions on this? You want a motion?
Yes, please.
All right, entertain a motion then to approve these changes as made.
I move we continue the insurance policy with Acumen Advisors, Inc. for 2019.
Motion by Trum,
Second.
second by Menson. Expenditure of dollars, do you want to roll on this or is standard approval?
I think standard approval is fine.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, the next item is the Lynn County Sheriff Contract Approval. This is something that I mentioned earlier when the Sheriff's deputy was here. The contract, you'll see, this is standard every year. It says in the cover letter, it should be noted that the hourly rate is increasing $1 to $36. This is, again, up to the council for approval, but I sat on council 2 years, as you know, prior to being mayor, and this is gone up every year. It goes up $1 a year. And then what happens is that, and I've mentioned it before when I was on council about it going up. And you have basically a couple choices here. You can approve it with the increase and just pay it. Secondly, you could decrease the amount of hours to offset the increase of the dollar to try to even it out in your budget. Or you could just refuse flat out and say, we're not doing a contract anymore. You know, obviously that may not be a very good idea, I mean, but you know, you certainly would have that option. If you think it's reasonable, given the amount of hours they give based upon what we pay for, you know, and obviously you could just do it across the board. But given the history, it doesn't seem that there's ever going to be a stop of we're going to get dinged another $1 an hour forever, you know? So I just wanted to make those comments.
Do you get charged the required hours or the number of hours that are actually here?
You only get charged for what's on the
43.
required, so we'll get hit for the rate for the number of hours. And you, like I say, you can change the number of hours if you want to.
Is it pretty safe to say that we already technically pay for this because we all pay property taxes in Lynn County? But it's just a nice agreement to have them come into our community.
Well, the city needs to have some kind of a police enforcement, and this is, I'm sure, a lot cheaper than having a full-time person in vehicles and health insurance.
For sure.
I think what you're getting at is the sheriff's department is gonna go on no matter what. Yes, they will come into town if we call them, but they're not gonna patrol town.
Yeah, I'm not at all insinuating we go away with this. I do understand what Charlie's saying, though. Every year I've been on council, they ding us an extra $1. Is that ever gonna stop? Probably not. So would it be a better idea to decrease the hours to, you know, for budgetary purposes? Or it's,
It costs us
Cost-
$18,576 a year. We are not touching law enforcement for anywhere near that.
That's true too.
No.
I've never been disappointed with the responsiveness, or, you know, if I had some poor experiences, I would say, but the responsiveness, particularly at my place of employment, has been unbelievable. Any issue that has happened in the community, that I think they've been very responsive. So I guess I see that, but if they're coming in and doing, I mean, do we have an audit of how many hours they actually come into town? Because it's always well over 43. So if we want to decrease because of that, I get that, but it just feels like we're saying, hey, they come in anyway, so.
And I can't predict what the impact would be if the hours were changed.
Right.
I can look at history, but I can tell you the history is very similar
Right.
for the same, for what was the same cost a couple years ago.
So they may increase, you know, the $1 every year, but they don't ever ask us to increase our hours based on what their service is. So I think it balances in the end.
Yeah, because they could come back and say, well, our average of being in your town is 90 hours, so we want you to increase your required hours. I haven't been on council past, this time, but have they done that? I haven't seen that, so
Okay.
to me, it seems fair.
Sounds like everybody's pretty content with it. If so, then we'll need a motion to approve it for another year.
I move we approve the Lynn County Sheriff's contract as presented.
Second.
Moved by Saracen, second by Trum. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number H, LL Pelling Seal Codes.
Simply, every year their seal coat guy stops around and gives us a guaranteed price. If we sign the contract and send it back, that means if we choose, we're not obligated, but if we choose to do any seal coat work in town, that will be our number. And it did not increase from last year. It's the same number as we got last year. So it's just a simple matter of accepting that that's the price that we're gonna do this at. Again, we could have Kleesner do seal coat for us. It's, they're just giving us the opportunity to lock in the cost. So pretty simple, straightforward. And I do feel like we might have need, I think it's been 3 years since we've seal coated a couple of the areas, that we have that on, at the end of north end of North Third, and, it's kind of Second Avenue, next to the railroad tracks, is seal coat, so, there might be some seal coat work this year. We'll talk about that at budget time, obviously.
You're happy with them?
Yeah, the number.
Status quo. Anyone?
I move we accept the proposal if you're looking for that.
Motion by Saracen,
Second that.
second by Nipson, I think I heard, so, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Good enough here. Okay, boards and committee possible review. This is an item that I brought up several months ago. It was chapters 53.
Excuse me, Mayor, you can skip one again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm marking them as I go and I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. Information request form and possible motion. All right, this would be something that would take effect January 1. This is a consistent, huh?
Is it in the packet, a copy of the?
I don't have one.
Oh, I don't think I did.
It
Are you
was
gonna get
in
the-
what you sent out yesterday.
Yeah, we updated it.
Yeah, information request form. This is going to be consistent with not only changes to ordinances, but then also consistent with the updates that we need to do for all city information, ordinances, the manual, the policies and everything. So it's forms, everything. We're behind on a lot of this stuff. So we'll wait for her to get it, but I'll talk about my other ones. We'll do a little bit out of order. But 53 and 54 then, I think it was about 6 months ago or something. 53 was updated. I think it was 54 that is created, and they mesh together now. She's got here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a request for record form. This would be what people would fill out. Now, I'd like to get this on the website as well, if approved this evening, as well as make it available in here. So if somebody wants an official record or something, data, information, forms, and it's other than something that could be very quickly just said or done, they would fill out this form, we would track it. There is a cost associated with it, both for making a lot of copies or with taking up a person's time to make the request. So this would be the form used to track this. This is consistent with what other cities are using. The fee schedule is consistent with not only, it's lower than city salaries, and our attorney doesn't seem to have an issue with anything that's on this form. So there it is. It was in your packets. I'm sure you've had an opportunity to review it prior to now. It would have a implementation date of January 1, 2019.
The change from the packet to this was the cost for the hourly wage.
So I guess my only question is, under the record type requested, are they selecting from one from both columns?
Potentially, if it's a large request, yeah.
Is that something we put under office use and we make the determination?
It
Or
could be,
what's the best practice there?
they would fill out the top portion and make the request. And then we would check, based upon that request, what ones apply.
Okay, so we fill that.
Right, potentially it could be more than one. And then that cost would be known to the person making the request. And then they could make a decision whether or not they wanted to. It's not like they just get deemed for it.
It would be clearer if this were something like office use only, because I saw this and I thought, oh, this is what I need to fill out also.
Right.
Yeah, I would just put all that in one box.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that. Some folks make a lot of requests and they know how to fill those out. That's why it's a separate one, but I don't have a problem with combining.
Yeah, I would have stumbled on it. It was unclear to me, so.
Okay. Other than that,
Well, I like it. I think this is a great way for us to track as well, and maybe there are things that we need to make more readily request form, that type of thing, so there's opportunity for us to use the data too.
Other comments? Okay, then I'd ask for approval to add the form to our forms by motion, after amendment, of course.
I would move we accept the information record request form with the slight changes.
Moved by Saracen, second by Hendrickson. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll get that amended and we'll implement January 1. Thank you. All right, now we'll get to sections 53 and 54. 53 is an existing Planning and Zoning Commission. 54 is the Zoning Board of Adjustments. This was, again, something that was discussed in the previous months. No action was taken on it because we needed time to review it and also to go through that with the attorney's office. I don't think that, I had a conversation with I believe after that meeting or the next meeting, I can't remember what it was, and there was no issue with it. We've had plenty of time for review also from council with this. So this is one of the items that I would also like to see action on. I take it back, we don't have to do the action tonight, but this will, for the January meeting for these particular boards, I would like to see, see us reach out to the folks within the city to determine who's going to continue to be on these boards.
Check with everybody that's currently on and see if they want to come first.
Yeah, some of them.
Some of them are gone,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're gone. And we can't continue to let it just set up there like that. So I guess that's what I'm looking for. We just need to finish this up and find out who's going to continue to serve. These have 5-year limits on them, and we need to update them. I know we don't use these very often, but that's no reason to let them sit out there. Did they transfer? I don't remember on the. I think they did. Didn't they just transfer the names completely over from the old website to this? We gotta fix that.
No problem.
And do we make nominations on that?
You were asked, weren't you, Barb, before? Just who asked you?
The clerk asked
Okay.
me.
Somewhat of a
So-
volunteer thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we can't make people do it, but I mean, we need to find out. At least get the updated.
Do we
So-
formally recognize and approve as part of the council meeting though? Like if someone agrees to do it, do we
We
make
should,
it,
so
make it a formal
on record,
nomination?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the existing one says term of office, said members 5 years, except when they first hold the office and so on. Vacancy occurs upon the commission caused by resignation, blah, blah, blah. And shall be filled by council for the unexpressed term. So, and subject to approval by council. So yeah, the council does approve it. I don't know if people are gonna be jumping up and down to serve on these boards. It doesn't sound like they're utilized a whole lot. Can you give us an idea of the last time you were pulled in as a board to do an approval?
I've been pulled in 3 times and it's been at least 5 years.
5 years, okay. So it's not like we're asking for a huge commitment here. So,
I can go on record and say, if you still want me on it, I'll stay on.
okay, so we do have folks that are willing to do it still, so. But we need to get it formalized and done so it doesn't sit out there as an item on the email.
I would agree, especially those that don't even live in town any longer.
All right, I'll get to the rest of these items so we can get things wrapped up. All right, the Main Street project and possible motion. I'll combine K and L and the 10-year CIP review and motion. Don't worry about the possible motion, those always go in there with that type of verbiage. These 2 items are items that I want to make sure get addressed at the January meeting if we have time to get to them. I understand that, we have a lot of stuff in budgetary stuff, but I want folks to be thinking about it. Same with you, Chief, that I would like, if we can do it as a priority, the Main Street project is, we should no longer pass up anything on Main Street that is either property improvement or city improvement. We should aggressively be looking at that. The bank has done an excellent job as an example of improving not only their facility, but also what Main Street looks like and what we're doing. So that should be a top priority, even if it means allocating city dollars over a multi-year process, or for that project. The other item is that 10-year CIP review, 5-year aggressively, but certainly over a 10-year process. And that includes, as an example for you, vehicle replacement. I know you're looking at doing some things like that for the fire department, but city vehicle replacement, infrastructure, whatever we need to do. But I want to make sure that that's a topic of discussion in January, and that we lay it out formally, that we construct it formally, either in the form of a PowerPoint, a PDF, or something, and make it available on the web. So the citizens know exactly what we're putting together, what the budget is, what we're looking to spend, why we're trying to do it, and make that available. So that's what I would like to see. If it comes down to templating and formatting and things like that, then fine, we'll do that. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out there. So any questions on kind of that vision for that Main Street project, or a 10-year CIP, or aggressive 5-year CIP review? Okay, very good thing.
I had asked Guy to give us kind of the inventory of streets and where we look at, so I think that's a great time to fit that in as far as street replacement and what the priority is there.
11M. You have the floor.
Sorry, just finish right here. Was looking through the financials, and on the October 12th through the November 8th timeframe, there was a Visa charge for conference and training fees for $604.15. I was just wanting to know who, and if you need to look that up, that's fine.
Okay. I can break it out.
That was probably October, November, that was when you went to,
I went to
Went to Des Moines.
Manchester and then I went to
And
Des Moines.
yeah.
So there
Just
was-
looking to see what the conference and training, what was involved in that.
Yeah, I can get you those costs and get them
Okay.
broken out.
And then one other one I had was the 9/13 Visa bill. There was $413.24. It said breakdown, but it didn't indicate anything on the financials, so if you can kind of, if there was one high dollar item, just what I'm looking for on that.
Okay.
And then I had a request from another citizen in town who is not able to be here tonight to address a situation that happened to them, placing the payment in the lockbox on the 20th, after hours, but still on the 20th, and getting charged a late fee. And nowhere does it say on the lockbox that it has to be posted or in the lockbox for a certain time for the 20th. Most communities let you go through midnight, because that is still the 20th, and post it the next day. And if that is something that's changing, I think it needs to be very specific to people. Because I would have made the assumption, because, you know, people coming from out of town, realize that they need to make a payment.
That was this, or last month, I mean?
It was last month.
All right, just a second.
Because the majority of people in town work out of town, so.
November 20th was a Tuesday. I can see issues where if it's not done by close of business, that could be a little problematic in certain cases. Let me give an example. If we said that you could do up to midnight, if I understand what you're saying correctly, and you didn't do it by close of business of the day that it was due, wouldn't you agree that potentially on a Friday you could do it Friday at midnight, or Saturday, or Sunday?
What happens when 20th is on the weekend, Saturday?
No, what I'm saying is, when it's due by close of business on a certain day, wouldn't you agree that you could have done it any time during the weekend, and then on Monday, when it's collected, it was multi-days late without a penalty?
But business days, I mean, not everybody can be in, and I don't know any other community, I've talked to a number of other ones, and they wait until the very next morning to pull the mail from those lock boxes. Some people even wait till noon to get the mail in.
I get it, this particular one was due on a Tuesday, but I think a situation could come up where they were given additional days and said it had to be this day, where
But
it fell
it
on a
was still
different day than a
posted,
Tuesday. That's why I
they
throw
were
that
still in the
out
lockbox on the 20th at night, just after hours.
Go ahead.
We do not know that it went in the lockbox after hours on the 20th. It could have gone in the lockbox at 8 o'clock on the 21st.
Yeah, potentially, or like I say, it could have fell on a different day.
We get checks in the payments every day that are dated the 19th and they're in the box on the 25th. Right? People try and pull that little, well, I wrote it on the 19th. And we pulled it out of the
But-
box on the 25th.
But when you come in,
What is our process for late fees? Do you,
On the
pull the-
21st, we run delinquents.
but do you pull payments and run those prior to running delinquents? So,
the individual I was told had posted, or had it in there, and their comment that they received from this office was, common sense would say to have you in here by business hours.
I was the one talking with her, it was me. She called and was complaining about the late fee, and I said, look, if we can't get it into our books on the 20th, it's late. If you put it in after business hours, it's
But then the
late.
ordinances and things need to be updated to reflect that, because it just says through the 20th.
You're making assumptions about what our ordinance states, as far as I'm concerned. A due date is the 20th of the month. Period. If I can't get my hands on it till the 21st, then it's late. I'm not gonna come in at 11:59 and empty the water payment box, I guess is my point.
I would tend to agree. I'm not saying that the council can't override it, but I would say this. I personally paid a late fee because I made a mistake and didn't get it in time, and I paid my late fee. And the city issued me it and said, hey, you were late. I was embarrassed because I hold office in the city, but I paid it. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for people that don't pay their stuff on time because I made the mistake once and I paid my fee. But I guess other comments from the council on this issue?
My only concern would be, how do you know that it was in there by midnight? That would be my only concern. We don't know that. There'd be no way unless you come up and check that lockbox. It could have went in at 6 in the morning on their way out of town, and it is late. And so what would be, if we were going to change that process, how would you ensure that it was in there by 11:59? That would be my only question is, if we're gonna do that, you have some way to ensure that it was, otherwise it is late.
Like I said, it's a moving target. It's the same thing. What day do you know it went in after you changed the time?
I'm pretty sure an hour here was 5 o'clock they were due, but I don't know, it's changed.
Yeah, I
think
think
it better,
Sharon would
might
empty
need
the
to be more
box at 5.
specific on the bills or on the lockbox itself, that anything past 5 PM or 4:30, whatever the office hours are, gonna be assessed a late charge. Because they have indicated that they've done it before on the 20th, after hours, and not been charged a late fee in the past.
I would recommend they do it on the 19th.
Yeah.
I mean, you say people aren't in town during business hours, but they could have dropped it one day earlier and not had a problem. 'Cause that
I'm
box
just
is
going off of what other communities also do too. They wait
I
until the
understand.
very next day.
But the box is accessible. It's not as though they have to come into City Hall to drop off the payment. The box is accessible outside of business hours.
Correct, and they dropped it in the box on the 20th. And I know other communities, I checked with them in this research, and they say that they wait until the next morning at 8 o'clock and pull what's out of their lock boxes at that time.
And we're also working off of word of mouth that it was in there on the 20th. We have no, I mean, again, no proof. The check could have been dated, but that doesn't solidify anything either. So I think this is just one of those situations where, like Charlie said, a mistake was made. Next time I'd do it 24 hours earlier.
Well, let's leave it with this. So noted, the council's aware of it. If the person in question wants to come in and make the complaint in person, take it under advisement, and we'll let the council decide what they want to do with it.
I invited the citizens to come tonight. I told them what
One of
time
them was unavailable. They had
Right.
another conflict.
Right, and we can certainly hear it later if the council wants to reverse the fee. They certainly can. I don't think we'll get anywhere tonight with where it's at, so I'm gonna go from there. What else?
That was it.
Very good, thank you. All right, we'll move on to 12A. The MSA update on culvert replacement and possible sewer extension. And there's, I believe, an item in your packet for this too. Go ahead.
And basically, the survey has been done, their survey crew was in town, so they have the information they need, and they promised to have something for us at the January meeting as far as a cost estimate, et cetera. But they've collected all the info that they need, so.
And 12B, the update on news abatement. This is something that we dealt with, was it last meeting? I mean,
It was discussed.
Yes.
Where are we at with it?
Yeah, where are we at with it?
We had a conversation with the attorney and we're gonna do a follow-up notice. We sent a courtesy notice back in August and gave 60 days, but that notice didn't include all of the specific verbiage that needed to be included to proceed with the process. So we are gonna send out an updated letter giving 14 days additional time from when they received that letter. We're gonna send it certified mail so that we're following all the protocol. And then from that point, we can proceed with going in and taking matters into our own hands at that time. So I am working on getting that letter ready, sending it to the attorney to review, and then we'll go ahead and get that sent out, send it certified, so that we have our ducks in a row that way, and then we can continue to proceed.
The other thing that goes along with that is the citizens who get these letters have the right to request a hearing. So be prepared, and that would be, can be part of a council meeting, but they have a right to come before you and plead their case. So,
Fair enough.
very possible that that could happen.
How many do we have outstanding, do we know?
I think we have four that we know of that have not made any.
Any progress whatsoever.
What type of possible action would we need to take if these people don't comply?
If they totally do not move or clean anything, I mean, I think it's at your discretion. If they're making progress and talk with us about their progress to get things cleaned up, that's one thing. But if there's no movement whatsoever, we have the ability to go on their property and remove said items. We got to do a little bit more research about what we do with those items. I assume we have to yeah, you have to hold them for a while. You can't just dispose of right away, and you know, that's part of finishing this process is figuring out what to do if we get to that point where we're actually removing items from property. So we may have to, you gotta put it in a secure location. So I know the last time the city did this, that D&D Auto housed some cars. So if that's what we need to do, I'd contact Dan and see if that's still a viable option.
And we may possibly need to rent a storage unit from
Yeah, it's possible.
And then the costs do get then assessed to the citizens. Also, some of the nuisance properties had their property on the railroad right of way. We contacted the railroad and they said that what we need to do is serve them the notice to the railroad so that they can then proceed in following that nuisance abatement process to get the stuff cleared off of their property. So we talked to the attorney about that as well, and he said to go ahead and do that. So we'll be sending one of the notices to the railroad.
Very good. Item number 12C, that can be removed. If you remember in that motion, I said up to, I think, 1,500 or something like that. Normally expenditures under 1,000 don't require anything. In this particular case, I think you were quite frugal with this purchase. It was around $700 and some, so it can be moved to itemized non-consequential expenses under 1,000 usually. Can be moved to consent. It was, so it's not an issue. I didn't know the price at the time that was placed on there. Thank you. That's it. Any other comments from anyone? No? No? Chief? Barb? Very good. All right. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Minson, second by Tom. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Everybody have a good evening. Drive safe.
I have a reimbursement.